Greetings, housemates, and welcome back to Learn to Play Endless Legend. This is the same necrophage game. Our first settlers are completed, and we're going to look at founding our second city. So, remember there's a lot of things that get more expensive when you have more cities under your control. So we already picked out a sweet spot, but before you hit that last button and you tell them, boom, make that city, there's a couple things you're going to want to check out, or you're going to cost yourself some optimization. For me, most importantly, these boosters, all your booster prices are going to go up by 5. So if it currently costs you 10 to activate a booster, it'll cost 15 when you have a second city. And it'll cost you 20 when you have a third. So if I ever want to activate Quicksilver or Titan Bones, which are an Era 3 luxury resource, and remember Era 3 is like at least 60 turns in the future, I'm going to need to activate them right now before I do my city. So I'm definitely going to do that. And of course I can save 50% of these, I can save 5 of each of these resources if I go ahead and spend them now. On that note, one of the early legendary deeds is actually activate a bunch of boosters, right? Here it is. Be the first to activate 4 luxury resource boosters in order to gain the reward. Because we were lucky enough to get the Lust for Loot quest, which gave us a ton of different resources, we could have accomplished that at any point we wanted, but we were waiting for an optimal time to activate our boosters. That time is now. Now we only need to activate 4, and the awesome thing is they're actually going to increase every single luxury booster you have going, gives you some amount of approval boost, which is great. The more luxuries circulating your empire, the more approval. Plus 50% production on cities. It is the perfect time for that, as we're building this incredibly industry expensive building right here. We're super focused on industry, so 50% is going to be a massive boon to help us finish up production of our city, so that it can be a nice little triangle. And of course, this newborn city is going to have a pretty decent need for industry itself. So, Titan Bones, yes. Alright, so for the next 10 turns, we have 50% more industry, and our empire approval jumps up to happy. Note that empire approval is content at 60. I believe cities are actually happy at 60. Go figure. Alright, what about Quicksilver? 100% XP on units and 10 approval on cities. That is obviously going to double our base XP per turn, which isn't really that much. I wonder if it works on heroes. I don't know. Our armies aren't really doing much fighting, and they don't look to be doing much fighting in the next 10 turns, I hope. I did recently encounter, right about here, there's a forgotten group of 2 assassins, which are probably more than a match for our 1 forager, though we could probably give them a decent fight. But all in all, I don't think it's actually worth activating it if we can save the Quicksilver. We can activate it later, maybe. Spices, always good to have. 50% food growth is really good for starting cities and really good for our other city, because our governor's crazy boost to food production means they're going to get like 90 food instead of 60 a turn, which means this population is going to grow really fast, faster than it already is. And then, sure, we saved gold, this luxury booster. It'll cut down on city upkeep. That's not a ton of gold, but then we won't be losing any. And might as well activate it since we're going to activate 4 anyway. Alright, that saves us like 5 gold. Not much. The approval is probably worth more than the city upkeep, but also that legendary deed is pretty key. And lastly, we can improve fortification in our cities. That's even less useful than Quicksilver. You know what? Let's go ahead and use the Quicksilver. And that completes our legendary deed. We could have done this earlier, but I was, of course, waiting to use the Titan Bones for when I started a new city, as well as the spices food boost. So we get 130 emeralds. That means that our city will be very difficult to assail, but primarily it just means I can continuously keep 5 approval going at all times. We've also, thanks to all these boosters, reached the fervent empire status. That means instead of the 15% boost to dust and science that we get from happy, we get twice that much, a 30% boost. Also, if we check out our cities, our city is also fervent, which means that we're actually getting 30 more food and industry, which is crazy good. Here it looks like we're getting 20 from spice boost. Nice. I don't know if that actually includes the hero skill, but that's still a lot. All right, what else would we like to do? Well, your empire plan's going to get more expensive, so either found right after every 20th turn, or take that into account. I think we're going to want these two to capitalize on all the cool stuff we want to build in the next era. And then maybe we'll go into military production for the end of era 2 or so. So I'm going to want 60, but it's going to get, I forget how much more expensive. You should come back and check right after you settle. Is there anything else that we have to watch out for? It is good to have 1 stockpile ready to use immediately upon founding. But I believe that is it. So let us found a city. Right here, note it's winter, so these numbers are lower than they would be, but 8 food, 14 production, 10 science, and 3 dust is incredibly good already. Plus, we're building right on top of dye, so we get a free dye extractor because we already have the technology to extract it, which is great because we need dye for our quest. Also, dye gives you a 50% influence boost on all your cities when active, which is also something we need. So here, come back if we wanted to boost this. Note the cost is now 15. And this went from 20 to 40. So we doubled the influence cost for our empire plan, which means we need quite a bit more influence. We're getting 5 a turn, and it is 7 turns. We're going to get 35 more. That's going to put us up at 80, 90. I guess we can afford these 2. But we're not going to be able to get any of these sick level 2 bonuses. All right, so that was before we even founded the damn thing. Now that we founded it, what are we going to do? First, I want to see if I can swap this guy over. It'll cost us a growth. But then again, all right, very first thing is I want to use my food stockpile to give 120 food to my new city. It's easy to find it, even if you don't know the name, because it has such a low population. Because we use the food boost, we note that we have 131 food this turn. It looks like the booster isn't actually increased by the spices, which is fine because that would be ridiculous. We only needed 34 food to go up in a level. We're going to get 100 or more on top of that. We'll probably get a point of population this turn, at the end of this turn, and at the beginning of next turn. So we can put our only person into industry. And what do we want first? Probably more industry, so that we can build all the other great things that we want in our empire. Personally, I would suggest, note that we're in winter, so we've got 1 to 8 turns of winter left. Let's build the siege storage near the end of that. I want money, because I need to buy a second hero, and the longer I wait, the more expensive it's going to be. So let's get the money rolling in. Plus, you'll note that while our first city produces a ton of cash on its own thanks to the palace, this city produces like none. So every new city, you're going to need to up your income a bit. And this 5 flat bonus is going to take care of standard expenses. Plus, there's no upkeep on gold producing city improvements because that would be silly. then, so by 8 turns, summer will be here. Best to have our seed storage ready to go. Plus that flat bonus of food is going to help this city get bigger faster, and the percentage increase is great. We can also assign our hero over here, which is probably a good idea as well. The next thing, so we can rebuild this Haunts village, and that's a really high priority for a new city because it will give us a another population point. So we want the population to grow as quickly as possible so that this city can flexibly produce whatever it is we want it to produce. In this case, lots of industry to get its feet under itself. And of course, you want to take advantage of the natural resources you have available, like glass steel, and that's it for the basic plan. We've got like a 14-turn plan, and it's important to take in consideration governors now. If you have a governor that's great at raising up new cities, like we do, then you're going to want to think carefully about assigning him to it or not. Remember that you can only assign a hero once every 5 turns unless they have some skill that lets them reassign faster. Our hero does not, and all he does is provide 30 more food. So, what are we going to do with him? I'm actually going to switch him over here for 5 turns, and then we want to bring him back for when the Museum of Origa finishes. That's going to maximize the amount of XP he gets from produced buildings. Remember that you get XP based on how much industry. It's about 7.5% of the industry that it costs to build something when it completes. He doesn't have to be, like, for 6 turns, he's only going to get 1 XP a turn. But then on turn 7, when this thing finishes, he's going to get, well, like 40 XP. That's a lot of XP, and I don't want to miss it, but I can get XP for this finishing, which will be, I don't know, like, not a whole lot, but you know, like 7 XP, or 6. And of course, he's going to increase the population growth rate. It's going to skyrocket here because of how low the population is currently. So, definitely going to assign him. And let's take the next couple of turns to see how this plan pays out, because that is the last thing we really need to consider. We're building something, we have decided whether we're going to assign a governor or not, and we activated our boosters beforehand and or thought about our empire plan. All right. Note also, we have a new -10 from expansion disapproval. That is not your districts. That's not what it's talking about. That is actually from having a new region. Every new region you found makes all of your other regions 10 approval less happy. So yeah, having multiple regions, you definitely need a way to shore up approval, or you're going to end up with massive production and security deficits. Anything else? We can assimilate a minor faction if we want. Like the Haunts would increase our science by 5%, and it would let us build Haunts. Okay. But if we do that, then we're not going to be able to do the empire plan we want, and Haunts aren't that important to me. So, we're going to skip that for now. And we built the dye extractor for free, which is nice. Alright, population grew to 3. Save influence. We're on top of the influence saving. The population growth is awesome. So we not only went from 1 person to 3, which means that our timeline jumped from, what, 15 turns to 9. But we're going to get yet another one in 1 turn. So we're going to have 4 population by the time this thing is 3 turns old. If I had another stockpile, I would totally go ahead and use it, but we don't. However, mill found, yeah. So you can see timeline's getting great. When we finish turn 4, our haunts are going to add an additional population, which means we're going to be banging it out. And by the time we switch him back over, we'll probably have a population 5 or 6 city, which is just as much as we expect to have over here. Crazy, right? Awesome benefit of being the necrophage. Okay, we're wandering around looking for pearls because we plan to use them. They're a free resource. All we have to do is wander around and find them, so best to do so. All right, 6 turns here. We just want to make sure to keep an eye on this so that we don't miss swapping our guy back over. Also important, let's take a look here. We're still rank 2 of 6 when it comes to finishing this thing. So we want to make sure to pour as much building power into it as possible and hope that we succeed. All right, we can buy some of this stuff, but it's not worth my money. I'm saving that up for a second hero. All right, our population grew to 4. We finished demanding gods, which means that we can sacrifice population to gain approval, which means we could pump these guys and our empire up to fervent if we felt like it. But right now I'm using all of the approval. Yeah, right now I'm using all the people I got. I need this industry. I want to keep checking to see, yes, we pulled ahead in construction on our building. That means our industrial power is more than our opponent, which means we're almost certainly going to win because they had an advantage. We are past them, which means that our base rate is just superior. Here we're up to 4. It'll be 4 turns before we get a 5th. I'm fine with that. Let's explore a little more. And this video will be done. Note that you can, around the first winter is when you expect to run into powerful wandering armies. We're being shadowed by a group of 2 assassins. They're both level 2. I don't think they're up to annihilating us. It's a close fight. But we do want to be careful, and better yet, we want to be close enough to support each other. I think we might actually be close enough to support each other right now, but it would be better if we were even closer. All right, how long till we can switch him back? 3 more turns. That should be just right. Yay, it's summer. Now we're making a lot more money. The mill was completed. And the Altar of Auriga, we'll come back to this. So I hope you can see how important it is to carefully consider what you do right before you found a new city, and how awesome it is to have a governor who focuses on building up the population of a city. The necrophage are just fantastic at this. So it's really important to invest early in a governor type hero instead of a military type hero like you might suspect initially upon seeing the race. I'm going to end this video here because I want to talk about the Altar of Auriga and what we can do with the pearls we've collected in the next video, and there's no better time than right now in the game. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you subscribe. I hope you like the video, and I hope you remember that it's all downhill from here.